in Hollywood, it was after I did Coach Carter, and I saw Eddie Murphy and Johnny Gill tongue kissing,
Oh,
and and this is like out in public. So a lot of the things that y'all think they do.
They're doing things behind closed doors, like Eddie Murphy, who knows me very well. You know, how well? Very well. You know, and what hurts me about him is, if anyone was after this meeting, and it will be filmed, they asked me, "What do you know about Eddie Murphy?" I'm not interested in destroying his life. I'm more interested in destroying his wife's life. I couldn't do that to her.
Y'all, Nicole Murphy is still out here being salty over Eddie Murphy. And now it's being reposted that Nicole has been sitting on some receipts about Eddie's very nasty time in the 90s, including her baby daddy's alleged relationship with Puff Daddy. People have been saying for years how much of a big playboy Eddie Murphy was, and there's word about how he was all around Hollywood, attending all sorts of crazy parties. Well, it turns out that they didn't even know the half of it, and Nicole Murphy is finally revealing everything she had to put up with until she just couldn't take it no more and wanted out. It turns out that Eddie Murphy was out almost every night, not just partying, but allegedly getting down with some other male celebrities and transgender escorts, and would go as far as even soliciting them for himself right on the streets of Hollywood. But is there really any truth to this? Or is she just being a bitter ex-wife? Well, we're gonna get into it. Now, I ain't gonna lie. When Nicole and Eddie Murphy announced that they were going to get a divorce back in 2005, it was a bit of a shocker because it did seem that they were in it for the long haul. Mind you, they met back in 1988 and began dating almost as soon as they laid eyes on each other. Before long, they moved in together and their daughter Bria was even born before they got married in 1993. But then, Hollywood has always been a dog eats dog type of place, and even though it seemed like they were a classic Hollywood couple, they eventually filed for divorce in 2005, stating that there were irreconcilable differences. The two of them said that their lifestyles were just that incompatible at that point, and there was nothing else they could do but go their separate ways. And during that time that they were apart, Nicole really got a ton of backlash because it looked like she was just after his money all along. She got a $15 million settlement from him, and she lost it all to a scheme that got the media talking about her when she was caught locking lips with a very married Antoine Fuqua. Eddie Murphy spoke out about the whole situation, saying that Nicole embarrassed her family with her actions. But Nicole wasn't just gonna stand by and let people talk about her like that. Oh no, for some time she was giving little tidbits here and there about her marriage with Eddie, why it fell apart, and why she chose to keep her last name despite the conflict between them.
I always said I would drop Murphy if I get remarried. And I always get asked that question, how come you still have Murphy? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, listen, I was married to that man for years, okay? I earned my name. I deserve my name. I have 5 children with that name. I didn't see any harm in keeping my last name.
Well, allegedly, there were still some very shady things going on with Eddie, especially between him and his several relationships that Nicole kept hidden. Now, Eddie has always been a bit of a party animal. I mean, he told y'all that in his song that he liked to party all the time, okay? And he could never really stay with one woman for too long before feeling bored and ultimately leaving. I mean, look at how his relationship with Whitney Houston went down. In her book, A Song for You, My Life with Whitney Houston, Robin Crawford went into some detail about how Eddie and Whitney's relationship played out. One minute he was chasing her, and the next minute he was over it and turned around to be very manipulative and unkind. Robin even said in her book that Eddie would go out of his way to allegedly make fun of Whitney's hair and wig and would throw jabs at her until they eventually went their separate ways. Even after Nicole, Eddie didn't stop dogging women and reportedly did the same thing to Mel B, where he went after her and even went to her father to ask for her hand in marriage. Then he left her hanging publicly and denied that their daughter was his. That was very messy, especially with the irony of it being that his daughter was born on his birthday. And according to Nicole, the same pattern he repeated in his relationship with Whitney and Mel B is the same way that he was moving when he was with her. And there have been several theories that Eddie was simply with women because he wanted to cover up what or who he was really into, if you know what I mean. Because there have been plenty of rumors about how Eddie be getting down both in and out of Hollywood parties. In 1997, Eddie was involved in a scandal that nearly buried his whole career when he was pulled over by police late one night in West Hollywood. It was supposed to be a routine stop, but guess who was in the car with him? A 20-year-old transgender escort named Adestone Shalimar Sayuli. Now, Eddie claimed that he was only trying to help someone out and that he was being a good Samaritan, just offering her a ride. When the police questioned him further, it came out that Nicole and the kids were out of state when he picked her up at 4 a.m. He said that he had gone out to find something to read when he met a person on Santa Monica Boulevard in LA and had no idea that she was trans.
And I'm not gay, and I'm not, and that's what's weird about this, to have your sexuality question and your moral fiber question and all that, when all I was doing was trying to be nice to somebody.
Eddie Murphy tells E.T. that his wife and children were out of town, says he wanted something to read and went to a late-night newsstand. He stopped here and picked up the suspected transsexual at 4:45 in the morning. He says he thought he was aiding a distraught woman.
Looks like a pretty Hawaiian girl in the corner crying. It looks like she was crying. She goes, "Oh, Eddie Murphy." She noticed him at the light. She recognized Eddie Murphy. Oh my God. So I go, "What are you doing? Why are you out here working the streets so late?" She goes, "Oh, I'm on my way home. Can you give me a ride home?"
Police tailed them for 2 miles before pulling him over.
Now, Eddie, this was when he was about 4 years into his marriage to Nicole. And what are the odds that he just so happened to pick up the escort as a kind gesture? Even though Eddie was able to get through the scandal with his reputation unscathed, it all came back to the surface when he was called out yet again by Octavia St. Laurent. Now, Octavia has never shied away from saying what was on her mind and was very openly proud of being a transgendered woman. And when she called out Eddie, child, she said his name loud and clear.
Is being run by perverted undercover fags that run around talking about how straight they are. You got big time celebrities that go around in their cars picking up transvestites, having sex with them, and then getting on national TV making fun of them. Everything you do in life is like a boomerang. When you throw it, it eventually comes back.
Octavia and Eddie allegedly dated for a while, and one thing she said she wasn't happy about was how he treated the transgender women that he had been dealing with, and implied that he was ashamed and wanted to hide his relationship with them.
And the women that they're married to wouldn't believe a word you said about them. And these are the reason why we have to start speaking out. Because these men who are famous or straight or perceived to be these macho guys are coming out behind their wives, their children, having oral sex, being the women behind their women's back.
Now, Eddie didn't actively engage with Octavia, but she had stoked people's attention enough to get folks talking, and where there's smoke, there's fire. After Octavia spoke out, word started going around that Eddie was a known chaser, and a lot of transgendered women in the industry at that time had allegedly been with him, even though he publicly said otherwise. There was also something about how he allegedly liked wearing sexy lingerie behind closed doors, which rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, because he'd then get on TV and make fun of trans and gay people, talking about how disgusting they were. It wasn't just the sex workers that Eddie was keeping around him, because some of the so-called male industry friends that he moved around with were also people he got intimate with regularly. And one of them just so happened to allegedly be R&B singer Johnny Gill. Now, rumors about Eddie and Johnny being an item go way back. Back in 2005, after a breakup, Johnny Gill's ex-girlfriend opened up saying that the reason she ultimately walked away because she found Johnny's relationship with Eddie a bit weird. She also added, "Johnny and Eddie have always been very close friends, but I could not compete with their relationship. It was strange. I can't even explain it." Some sources revealed that Johnny was actually living in a guest house on Eddie Murphy's property at the time, and speculated that perhaps one of the reasons Nicole Murphy had to leave was because she got tired of dealing with both Eddie and Johnny's weird relationship. Well, it turns out that these rumors might actually have some truth to them after all. because a male entertainer who was frequently at Diddy's party dropped some major tea that no one was expecting. Now, since Diddy's arrest, a lot of things about what happened behind closed doors in Hollywood have been coming out, and it's been anything but pretty. And this escort called Flash basically confirmed all the rumors going around, saying that Eddie and Johnny were really a couple and claiming that he had seen them get intimate at one of those parties.
Walking down the stairs, because I was just checking out, it was in the Hollywood Hills. So I was walking down the stairs and they were kissing at the bottom of the banister, like, and I'm like, damn, the Nutty Professor really is nutty. like he really is, like, and they were going at it, like, for real, like swallowing tongues.
Honestly, it's not hard to believe this, because one thing we know for sure right now is that there's a lot of DL men in the industry who go out of their way to make it seem otherwise. And Eddie has had a very long history of fighting DL rumors left, right, and center. So even though he has tried to distance himself from the rumors, people have pointed out that there's no coincidence that his name has popped up multiple times. One user posted, "Nothing surprises me about these celebrities anymore. Nothing surprises me about these black gay men either. Therefore, anything's possible. More power to them both." Another said, "It could very possibly be true. Johnny Gill is actually living in a guest house on Eddie Murphy's property in California. People had warned her years ago about the down low rumors." And then another one really went there. "None of this sounds far-fetched. People just need to be who they are. Who gives a darn?" But what do y'all think about this? And were there any rumors you heard about Eddie Murphy from back in the day? Sound off in the comments below, and don't you dare click off without hitting that like button. Make sure you subscribe too. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye, baddies.